Well, Heathrow Airport has been closed all day in the biggest ever outage in UK aviation history. But of course, as usual, this is linked to Britain's net zero policy because the backup generator that could have powered Terminal 2 and part of Terminal 5, in fact, was biomass rather than diesel and therefore didn't work as efficiently as it could have. Thank you so much, Ed Milliband, and to the British public. We're going to have to get used to this, aren't we? Hello everyone, this is Andre Walker. Please do donate to the Patriot Fund. We're going to go up and down the country supporting right-wing causes, opposing two-tier policing, and also there's going to be our first AGM of the Patriot Fund just in a couple of weeks' time. The link is in the description if you're able to donate. Okay, so as part of Heathrow's commitment to net zero, they've built this new biomass terminal. Well, it's not new, it's a couple of years old. Now, just to go back to what happened today, there are three electric substations that power Heathrow Airport. That's all 5 terminals. One of them, about 1.5 miles away from Heathrow at Hayes, had a fire. Now, actually, fires at substations are rare, but they're not totally unheard of. And of course, it's something that there needs to be contingency put in place for. Now, to be fair to Heathrow, what they can do is they can survive off 2 electric substations, but they have to redesign the electrics, which effectively means they just need to unplug certain things and plug things in. So, you know, there's some non-essential power systems and there's some essential ones. And obviously they need to reboot the whole system. Now, in their case, that means safety systems and all sorts. So it's quite big. But what is interesting about this is the first terminal to have its own backup biomass generator is Heathrow Terminal 2. So as part of resilience, they decided to build in this new generator. But of course, because it's biomass, because it's not diesel, it didn't work. Had they installed a diesel generator, then at the very least, Terminal 2 would have operated properly. That's the Queen's Terminal, and part of Terminal 5 would have operated correctly, probably enough in the case of Terminal 5 to keep its critical safety systems going, which means that the massive reboot, which has taken all day, would be much less needed. Now, Heathrow pretty much runs at capacity. So if you had 2 of the 5 terminals open, actually I think there's only 4 of the 5 terminals currently operating, but if you had basically half the airport open, then that's not going to be it's not going to be great, is it? But it's going to be significantly better than it would be otherwise. And I think now we're going to have to start getting used to this, aren't we? Because we've been talking about how power outages and power surges are going to become much more common on the UK grid. And we've already heard the way that we've said that the use of power now needs to be reduced. All of our energy plan is to put more insulation into homes and to tell people that they shouldn't expect to be warm all the time in their own home. And in fact, the reason is because some people had a go, some nasty people had a go at Ed Milliband being Jewish. Ed Milliband is not Jewish. Ed Milliband is a pagan. His religion is climate change. Have you noticed the way that all of these people worship the earth now? And they sort of say, and let me tell you why I think Extinction Rebellion and the climate change people are very similar to a religious cult. First of all, they say the science is fixed, right? So they've got their religious doctrine and nobody can go against it. Then there's a priestly class of experts who are able to preach whatever they want. Then there's the kind of Spanish Inquisition of people who want to destroy any heretics, anybody who goes against their religious textbook. And then lo and behold, Greta Thunberg, a child is sent to save the world and rid them of their sins and to lead the way. All of it is borrowed from religion. Now, I'm not being critical of religion. I'm a Christian myself, but I think it is fair to say that as religion has diminished, this new paganism has risen up in its place. Well, I'm going to say this to you. On older technology, now green technology is marvellous and we're all going to become richer as a result. Every country that has more green electricity, the price of electricity goes up. And we have never seen a full one-day closure of Heathrow in its history. In its history. It never even closed during the Second World War when it had a grass runway and it was being bombed by the Luftwaffe. And yet it never closed for a whole day. You will start to see this more and more and more. And what we'll be told once again is the same as what we always get told, that that this has got nothing to do with net zero, and the guy running around stabbing people, he is just suffering from a mental health problem. That is the reality of what we are going to see now. And I think we need to start moving away from it, and we need to start defending our own green credentials. I am, in my view, an environmentalist. I support things like the Green Belt. I support things like the retention of parks. I oppose the sale of school playing fields to be turned into housing development. That is what the real green agenda should be, not this idea of this carbon worship that goes on. Now, I will say one thing. The reality is, I'm not saying that pollution is a good thing. I'm not saying that. But at the moment, as carbon dioxide has increased, so has the amount of greenery increased, because obviously plants use CO2 as food. But also the other thing, I couldn't believe this, apparently only 1% of any increase in CO2 is human-made. The largest thing apparently is volcanic activity, which releases enormous amounts of smoke and all those sorts of debris and whatever. We are destroying the wealth of our nation. We are destroying the health of our nation. We are destroying the happiness of our nation on the altar of this new pagan religion. And we should, just as we have said on this channel before, that blasphemy should not be allowed when it comes to the Islamic faith. It should not be allowed when it comes to carbon tax. Sorry, we should not allow people to oppose it when it comes to Islam, but we should not be allowed people to oppose it when it comes to climate change. The religion of climate change must be something that can be criticised. It cannot simply have blasphemy written into the laws, where when I work at the Talk TV, I'm not allowed to criticise climate change in a fulsome sense, because blasphemy laws against the climate change religion put that into place. And of course, who is the Pope of climate change? It is, of course, Ed Miliband, a man who is willing to destroy this country in order to further his religion of carbon dioxide and climate change. And what happens now is very simply this. The Middle East is producing as much oil as it ever produced, but it's going to China. And what do we get in exchange? Lithium batteries that last a few years. If you believe that electric vehicles are better for the environment, congratulations, you're an idiot. There's no way. When you look at the heavy metals, lithium and so on and so forth that are put into them, the fact that a car, I mean, if you really look after it, might last as long as 25 years. And an electric vehicle might last 7 or 8. And then it needs a new battery. The battery is 50% of the value of the car. It's an absolute disgrace. And for all of our coal-fired power stations that we are closing down, remember, China is opening what? 1 new coal-fired power station every week. What we are doing with paganistic climate change is we are pushing ourselves into highly expensive energy, which is making ourselves poorer. Why did the Tata Steelworks shut at Port Talbot? Because of green taxes on it. And all that production now is moved to China. What you might as well be doing when you pay your higher energy bills is writing out a cheque and send it to Xi Jinping and saying, please invade the United Kingdom with the money I pay you. That is the reality. By the way, you won't read any of this in the newspapers, but I guarantee Heathrow's Biomass fell over today, and that was supposed to save it from all these problems. Please do donate to Patriot Fund. We will be visiting a town near you. We'll be announcing the tour very soon. The link is in the description. Until next time, goodbye.